Hi, I'm Max from the product team at Quiq. Today we're going to be talking about different approaches to AI orchestration. You can think of AI orchestration as how you manage and coordinate the different parts of your AI experience in a given customer interaction. So when to use a particular agent, when to invoke a particular tool, or when to send users down a particular path or flow within your experience. There's been more and more talks about the need for reasoning or orchestration engines with the advent of more agentic experiences. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about how we think about this for our builds and for our customers' builds here at Quiq. We've recognized from the get-go that the reasoning and orchestration power of large language models was as critical as the response generation portion. And we knew when building out our AI Studio product, we didn't want to box our customers or ourselves into an architecture that curbed our ability to build powerful experiences that could evolve and grow over time. We've noticed lots of examples of newly introduced orchestration capabilities that can often feel like add-ons to existing, more simple retrieval augmented generation products or previous generation flow products. And I want to talk about some of the things to watch out for when attempting to build this yourself, whether you're building it in-house or buying an off-the-shelf solution. So for anyone who's used Quiq's AI Studio, you know that we take a really flexible approach to agent architecture, allowing you to build however makes sense for your use case and your experience. One of the most important things to think about when setting up your orchestrator, which you can see here, is to ensure you're not just conditioning off of one input or classification. What do I mean by this? So the most common version of this you'll see is basically having a single prompt that checks for topic of a user message from a predefined list of topics and then routes the conversation accordingly. This is a key part about how Quiq thinks about orchestration, which you can see here, but crucially, it's not the only input. So here, this is one of our orchestrator steps from one of our templates. Now it is checking for topic, but it's also doing things like checking, is this a customer versus a prospect? Does this input require API data, or can it be answered from general company specific knowledge? Is it a sales or service inquiry? It's about 7 or 8 prompts running in parallel here, each with a specific task using a specific model. So here is an example of what that customer versus prospect prompt looks like. If I click over to configuration, I can see all the different models available for me. So each one of these can use a different model. As a callout, you're not just limited to using large language models at this orchestration step. You can also incorporate any other customer info, like whether the user is logged in, what channel they're on, what web page they're on, and incorporate that as well. And this is all in service of helping us make smarter decisions to increase resolution and boost CSAT. So let's take a look at what this looks like in practice and why it's actually valuable. So to take a step back for a second, we're looking at a sample agent in the context of a fictional bicycle retailer. So I'm going to come in and ask a question. I'm going to say something like, I've had other bikes for years and just bought one of your Cannondale models. How does the warranty work if I notice something wrong with the carbon frame? So here, my topic is going to be related to warranties, but we're also going to recognize based on the input that I'm a current customer, and this is a service inquiry. So instead of just giving me a general answer on warranty from our knowledge base, we're actually going to prompt me to sign in. We're going to pull in some account-specific information to better answer my question. So I'll go ahead and enter my password. And once again, if I was on site, logged in, the agent could know that and just pull account information directly in here. So here we're going to get a personalized answer based on my account information combined with answers from general knowledge. So we're getting a great specific answer to my question. Now let's go ahead and open up our debug workbench, which is going to let us understand exactly what happened here. And I'm going to focus specifically on this orchestration step that we were just looking at. So here you can see all of those prompts running in parallel. I can click into each one of these. So here's that does this require API data or not prompt. I can see the entirety of that prompt. And then the completion, where we did identify, yep, we're probably going to want API information to answer this question. Similarly, if I click into customer versus prospect, I can see that prompt as well as the completion, in this case identifying us as an existing customer. And I'll click into sales versus service and identify something similar here. So once again, identifying this as a service inquiry. So this parallel classification approach is the foundation for more sophisticated multi-agent orchestration. So you can see this next step where we called off to that API, extracted the relevant information to go ahead and actually generate that answer for the customer around their particular bike and its warranty status. So let me do one more version of this question to kind of highlight how this looks for a slight variation of this. So I'm going to say, I've had other bikes for years and I'm thinking about getting one of your Cannondale Synapse models. How does the warranty work? If I notice something wrong with the carbon frame. So once again, basically the same question. I've already got the debug workbench open, so we'll see what happens when this comes in. But in this case, we're going to be able to identify that this is not a current customer based on the question they asked. We're not going to try to call off to a tool that lets us log in. We're just going to be able to identify this as a sales opportunity. So if I go ahead and click into topic, it'll be that same warranty question topic as the previous question. But if we take a look at requires API data, we'll get no. As well as a rationale for that, customer versus prospect. We'll identify this as a prospect. And if I go into find info, this is where we're going to try to generate that answer. We don't need to pull in any account specific information here. So hopefully this example shows how even a simple question requires multiple dimensions to analyze and route correctly. And this becomes increasingly more true with more complex workflows. Now this sort of architecture that we're looking at here is going to carry throughout the agent and will inform all sorts of future decisions. So one of the other key considerations and limitations we notice with other tools is that when you're moving conversations through an orchestration step, conversation context often gets lost. You're backing out to kind of a top level orchestrator. You're leaving a specific flow and you're losing some of that conversation context. So if a user switch questions and start asking about something else, you're going to be starting from scratch functionally. With the approach we're seeing here, this isn't going to be any context lost if I do change topics. In fact, we're running every message through this classifier step. So no context is lost if I change topics or ask more follow-up questions. So you can imagine for the two scenarios we saw here, if both those users wanted to get escalated to human agents for any reason, the first user we'd probably want to escalate to a service team. The second user we might want to escalate to a sales team to help maybe convince them to buy one of those new bikes. So hopefully this was helpful when considering how to leverage more of the reasoning power of large language models for orchestration, whether that's for a fully agentic experience or for something simpler. If you want to learn more about Quiq's AI Studio product, you can sign up for your own account, your own trial below, or reach out and we'd be happy to have a conversation about how we think about orchestration and how we think about building agentic experiences more broadly.